Some packages have arrived and we've got the left hand side fuel tank and the fuel sender unit, so let's get it open and we'll get cracking into fitting it up. After spending 4 months travelling Queensland in our Land Rover, from the outback to the tip of Cape York, we are back in Sydney with a list of repairs and mods to tackle before we head south on the second leg of our big lap of Australia. Ta-da! On the FFRs, on the left hand side, they have a battery box like most Defenders. The RFSVs have the tank here, so I have to remove the battery box, cut out the aluminium box that's in there or unscrew the rivets, and then I relocate the battery to the FFR battery box location, and I'll also have to relocate the water pump that we currently have there. Removal of the seat box started by drilling out all the rivets. There were rivets going around the whole seat box edges. The battery box was sandwiched between the seat box and the floor panel. I managed to pry this up, allowing me to remove the battery box without having to remove the seat box. Right, so another modification that you got to do on the FFR is to cut out this exhaust bracket that sits underneath the chassis outrigger. My exhaust runs down the center now, so there's no need for that. So we'll get that cut off and that'll make more clearance for the tank to fit in. With the exhaust bracket cut off, we moved on to mirroring the front fuel tank bracket. I used the right hand side fuel tank bracket, kit made out of RHS and some flat plate. We have made up the left hand side tank bracket. So what I've done is I've mirrored the old bracket, and so that's them. So what I have to do now is I've got to drill a hole on the tank because I don't want to drill it on the chassis. So this hole already fits the original hole, but I need to drill this hole to fit to another original hole on the chassis outrigger. So we'll get that drilled in and then we should be able to fit up the tank. Oh, also over here where this bracket goes, it has one hole, so I just need to drill the other two, and that makes it sort of as close to the other side as we can get it. So we'll kick on with that and get the tank in today, hopefully. Unfortunately, I ran out of space on my phone yesterday, so we only got the drilling and of the new hole. So I missed the basically first fitment of the tank up underneath. So all our mounts are done. So now I just need to go through, and at the back of the tank there's the filler and the filler breather. So I just need to go through and clearance that on the back, and I'll show you that now. So at the back of the tank here, just above the outrigger, it sits very close to a bit of the floor plan. So I'm just going to clearance that a little bit, and then I don't know if you can see, but I also need to drill a hole over there where the fuel filler breather comes out. So that'll be today's jobs. I didn't film this part because it's a little bit boring, and I was just drilling holes and reinforcing the seat box. I'll show you what I've done. I've used some aluminium right angle 3mm Aha! We are fitting this stupid tank for the final time. Hopefully. Yeah. We've got a leaf of clearance. Eh. It's not like it's going to vibrate against it. We'll see. Some parts have arrived to kick on with the fuel tank. It is a stainless steel 2¼ inch Y piece for the filler neck, and that's going to go in between the filler cap and the rubber pipe that goes down to the tank on the right hand side. So I'll show you that now, and we'll cut that in, and then we'll run the plumbing for the other side. So the idea is I only wanted one. The RFSVs, from what I've looked at, have a filler neck on either side, which means that you've got to turn your car around to fill up. But I didn't want that, so I'll show you that now. And I'll put the description to this part in the link to this part in the description. And I got it from China, and I was unsure whether it was going to come how I needed it, and it did. And it's got just enough on it to get a hose clamp. Alright, so as you can see, that's going to go in there, which is going to just clear that tub. And I've got to get it up as high as I can get it so it feels right. Basically what I've done is I've cut the top hose to leave the minimum amount I need to sort of clamp that pipe effectively to seal off, make it so it's fuel tight. And then same thing with the bottom. And then I've angled that towards the other side. And that should, I mean, it's got a fair bit of downward offset, so it should fill the tank pretty effectively. And then when it gets to this point anyway, it's sort of offset on like a V like that. So once the first tank fills, it'll start filling the second tank anyway. So that's it's as good as I can get it, because it's such a tight space, and without heavily modifying any of the original filler. This is sort of what I've come up with. On slowly with the filler for the left hand side fuel tank, and I just quickly tacked up this bracket. It's basically a exhaust bracket that has the U-bolt. One sec, I'm gonna put it, oh, give me a sec. Yeah, right, so it has this U-bolt, and it's basically just an exhaust bracket, so that's going to hold the aluminium pipe that I bought. And I'll show you now where this is going to go. It holds it up off one of the one of the brackets that holds the front cab, and it basically makes it really solid so that we don't get any vibration cracking issues. I mean, there's rubber pipes either side, so I don't see that being an issue, but this is going to hold it steady for corrugations and things like that, and hold it in place because it actually feeds next to the battery, and a couple of the main battery lines run on top and underneath. It's really tight clearance, but there's about 10 mil either side, so it's pretty good. So I'll show you now where this bracket that I made goes. So this is the filler pipe, and if I was to leave it, it'd be like that. This bracket goes in there. It just holds that all really steady. And then I've got that rubber base, and that'll sit underneath the pipe there like that. And that's because I've got a join in the center as well. Fill's all done. Bracket that I made's on, really solid. And then the joiner is solid too. And that runs to there, clears everything, and goes up to the Y piece up there. So I'm just making up the T-piece, and the funny thing is, that's running at the moment. It's actually kinked it and flattened it. That's the original way that the pipe's been run. So if I chuck a T-piece in there, that'll actually open that back up and allow it to breathe a bit better. That might be why I had an issue with it filling. So, because it's kinked off like that. So we'll kick onto that and get that done. Got the T-piece all done. So that's the T-piece there for the breather. Sits just behind the fill, and it's higher than the level of the tanks, so it should work well. And that comes up to this breather, which goes to there. That's how the breather runs. So I'd have to cut a hole in the tub like that on the other side if I was to do single breathers. So that's why we went with the Y piece to hook it up. So we're getting there. All right, next stage of the fuel tank is to basically, I've got to cut down this fuel pickup. It's a universal one that fits a couple of different tanks that go in Land Rovers, the older ones specifically. So it's slightly too long, as you can see. So I've just got to measure it out and trim that end off, and then I'll make up a gasket for that end, and we'll get that in, and then that's the fuel pickup. So we'll have to look at running the fuel pickup for that, and then the last thing we have left is the fuel return. So I'll have to fab something up or see how much it is to buy just the standard one. And so we'll kick on with getting all that in, make the gasket, chop this, and get that installed. All right, so I've cut it to length, and now I'm just making up the gasket for it. So I made that. So we have the right angle fittings, quarter MPT. Basically what we're doing is disconnecting the line that runs into the right hand side tank. That just gets attached to the rear outlet, because that goes to the water separator. And then the other fitting under there, if you can see it, yep, that just needs a pipe plumbed to this tank. So once I've done that, that's the whole system plumbed up. All the tank is now plumbed up, and I'll just show you what's going on with that. I had to go get a straight quarter BSP to 5/16 hose barb. What it looks like underneath, the main outlet, so basically the outlet that goes to the feed to the engine comes off the back, and that's a 90-degree fitting, and then 2 straight fittings at either side. One of them runs to this tank, the other one runs to the left-hand side tank, and then that's all switched with this lever switch that I showed you before. So I've also just replaced the line going back to the water separator and the sedimenter, which goes under there to that pipe there. So we'll put all the interior back in. I can finally fit all of the interior, which is good, because the gearbox is in, which you would have seen in the last episode, and now the 2 tanks are hooked up. So it's time to get all the interior back in and take it for a long drive.